It's time for Twig This Week in Google, episode 42, the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Doc Searls joins us from Clue Train and the Harvard Center for Berkman Center for Internet and the Law, and Gina Trapani and Jeff Jarvis are here. We're going to talk about Facebook, a number of issues, but Facebook is the chief topic. And I will delete my Facebook account live and on the air. Coming up on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 42 for May 12th, 2010. Tool of the Week. This Week in Google is brought to you by Go to Assist Express. If you're in tech support, solve problems fast with the leader in remote support software, Go to Assist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show that covers the Googleverse, the cloud, a lot of Facebook lately too, and joining us, the usual cast of brilliant people, starting with, in the upper left-hand corner, Gina Trapani of smarterware.org. Founder of Lifehacker, our token developer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, somebody has to do it. Great to have you. Also with us, Mr. Jeff Jarvis of buzzmachine.com, a great post about Facebook this week, which we'll talk about in a little bit. He is a professor of journalism at CUNY. You can see the CUNY sign over your right shoulder there. That's nice. I like that.
Wherever it is, I get
there.
I'm geographically dyslexic.
And one of the people joining us, one of the people today, one of my favorite people in the world, Doc Searls, who was one of the authors of the Clue Train Manifesto, now in its 10th year. And he's currently at the Berkman Center at Harvard University studying, is it VRM, Doc?
Yeah, it's V, as in victory, but it stands for Vendor Relationship Management, which is kind of the reciprocal of Customer Relationship Management, which senses junk mail and makes us get out loyalty cards and do other inconvenient things. And we're trying to come at everything from the customer side. So we're equipping customers with tools that make them independent of vendors, but better able to engage with vendors. And we're doing this basically using open source stuff, and so that commercial guys can build stuff on top of it.
It's great. What is the response from commercial guys?
The cover of this week's, I should pull this out. Here we go. This is a Clue Train effect after a long time. Here we go. It says, "I am not an eyeball." This is a copy of. Okay, this was the
CRM magazine
cover of CRM magazine, and in the small print there it says, "Your customers don't belong to you, and neither does the customer relationship." And it's about half the magazine is devoted to VRM and what Clue Train said 10 years ago and how we were right and stuff like that. So it's starting to happen after 4 years of work and development. It's starting to catch on.
Yeah, if you go to doc.searls.com, is it .com?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'll find a link to Doc's stuff at Harvard and the Project VRM webpage, which is at the harvard.edu address. But it's easy to remember, doc.searls.com.
Yeah.
Great to have you here. I've been meaning to get you on this show and all of our shows much more. Much more. Because like Jeff and Gina, you're a thinker. And God knows we need thinkers these days. Gina, you're going to be in town.
Do as well as think.
Yeah. Do and think. Yeah. But, you know, we got doers and we got thinkers, but I think we got to think before we do or something.
Something like that.
Well, I did that for 58 years. I've been trying to do for the last 4. So.
Enough making. Now some doing.
Yeah,
Gina, it will be coming to the Bay Area next week, so maybe we can get you to come up to the cottage because Google I/O is next week.
Yes, I'm very excited.
What is Google I/O?
QR codes everywhere. The Google I/O is Google's developer conference. It's a 2-day get-together at Moscone West Center.
Moscone, yes.
Moscone. I've actually never been there. That's also where WWDC goes on, right?
That's right.
Apple conference. Yeah, I'm very excited. It'll be my first time there and my first time at I/O. And it's Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So.
Now, can only developers go, or probably the ink-stained wretches are not allowed in?
You know, I registered as just a regular attendee, as a developer, paid my way, but I'm sure that press goes for the keynotes and stuff. I'm sure that they issue press passes, but I just decided, hey, I'm just going to go as a regular person and attend some of the
What do you expect?
development sessions. I think there's going to be a lot of really good stuff at I/O. Actually, it's really interesting. They're not printing programs on paper, right? They released an Android application, which is the I/O schedule. It's got all the different tracks. You can take notes. You can mark sessions as favorites. They said that there will be printers on site if you really have to print out the programs. Put them out there, which is kind of interesting.
Who would do that? I mean, look at the looks you would get standing over by the printer.
Right. I'm going to go over to the printer and get a piece of paper.
Yeah, I need.
They're going to be waiving all of the sessions, which of course made me happy because I wrote a book about Wave, and I'm excited to. I felt like that kind of indicated this bigger commitment to Wave, from the company as a whole. I think they're going to be using Wave and Google Moderator, which are two kind of.
Moderator's cool.
Yeah, Moderator is cool, but it's not a product that you hear about a lot, right? So I think that they're going to kind of combine the two so that audience members and even people who aren't at I/O can watch people take notes and ask questions, which would be really neat. But
we could attend in a way. We can attend I/O by joining the Wave.
Right, by joining the Wave, exactly. But
perfect for you, Gina. It's the coming together of your worlds.
Yeah.
I know it is. I'm so excited. I'm out of my mind about it.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yay! In terms of announcements, I mean, I think there's going to be some major, play to Android probably and Wave, but especially Android. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Google TV get at least announced or perhaps demoed. Obviously all the attendees got a free Android phone. It was not free. I mean, it kind of came with the price of your ticket, right. The Droid. And,
you chose the Droid. You could have Nexus 1 or a Droid, right?
No, actually in the US, you got a Droid. If you were in Europe, you got a Nexus 1. Yeah, which is... I would have chosen another.
That's
Nexus
surprising.
1.
Google didn't give it. I guess they'd already given Nexus 1s out. So
yeah, and they kind of encourage you to start your Android app before you arrive, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's a whole Android track. So I think we're going to see some Android announcements. I'd be really excited if Froyo came out during
2.2.
2.2. That'd be very exciting. But beyond that, I don't know. I'm really excited to just be around a bunch of nerds to develop for Google.
Always fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to figure out how we're going to cover it. The keynote, which is probably where most of the big announcements will happen, is that morning, Wednesday morning, before we do This Week in Google. So maybe I can come down for that. Maybe we could probably do. We'll figure it out. Maybe find a locale in San Francisco that we can do the show. Skype you in, Jeff, and maybe bring in some Google I/O folks and do a special.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, I would love to see the studio, but it'd be cool if we could pull in a couple of people.
We have a facility we can use that's right next to Moscone, so I think we can probably do that. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Who does the keynote?
Who speaks?
Who speaks?
We don't know.
I don't know. I'm Googling.
Does it matter? Is there someone that? There's no Steve Jobs for Google.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah, it's funny.
You wouldn't expect. You wouldn't even want Larry or Sergey to talk. They're kind of figureheads at this point.
Or at least visit and say hi, guys.
Love to see them, but there is nobody who's like the
Rosenberg or.
I think it's Jeff.
Jeff Jarvis.
Yeah,
I'd like to say, what would Google do?
Crap.
I know what Google's going to do.
You just wrote a book about it. That's all.
Yeah. I'm looking through it right now, and of course, as usual, it's very hard to find stuff on Google's site. They need a search engine or something. Speakers. Wait a minute. Here's speakers. No, they just have all the names.
It's just a really long list.
It's just a long dang list. Thank you for organizing the world. Now maybe they can organize their own pages. Well, there will be some interesting stuff to talk about. In fact, Verizon says they're going to do a Android tablet.
Yay. But also, 3 months late. I mean, I don't know.
Is it too late? Is the iPad?
I don't know. Is it too late? It's just I wanted to have heard this announcement, 3 months ago.
TechCrunch published.
Eric Schmidt made fun of the tablet in Davos and said, tell me what the difference is between this and a big iPhone. So I think it sounds a little rushed, actually. That's
one of those sayings people trot out, but that makes no sense at all. It's like saying, what's the difference? Oh, a swimming pool, it's just a big bathtub.
Well, I have with me the tablet that replaces them all.
Whoa.
You're going to be so jealous.
What is that?
This is the Intel Web tablet.
It's pretty old looking.
I
It's got an
helped work on
antenna on it.
in the late 90s.
That's the old Intel logo.
Yeah.
Yep, it was the old Intel, and it worked on Intel AnyPoint. And there were only a few production items made. Let me see if I can. Here it is. Surf 150 feet away from your couch, from your PC.
Ooh. But that's a good example of, I think the tablet technologies weren't there. I mean, there was no Wi-Fi. The IDs were there.
For something to browse on and surf on the web was there back then.
Right.
It was really pretty cool. I also, by the way, brought into my office for a museum my old QCat.
Oh, yeah. That's back, baby. The QCat is back.
I have, let me see what else here. I have my news catcher, which was a vertical blanking interval thing where you get the news on.
Right.
I have my old Modo. Remember you have these? This is kind of the original little news feed. And then finally, the Planet Portal. This is my favorite.
What the heck is that?
URLs were just too hard for us little people, so it gave us buttons to push, like computers and health and beauty and Wall Street Journal. And this was what we were supposed to plug into our computers because URLs we couldn't handle.
Please. Well, that was the idea of the QCat, too, is you would scan it so it would type a URL in for you.
I'm trying to get myself, from the museum I'm establishing here at CUNY of Dead Technology, I'm trying to get myself an old Trash 80, the Radio Shack thing we used to use. You know what I really want, if anybody in the audience has this? I would kill to have the old Mojo wire, the Xerox telecopier portable, that we used to have to take with us on assignment and put in the sheets one at a time and go thump, 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 send things in with an acoustic coupler on it.
I want a mimeograph machine because I miss the smell of the ink. Poor Gina is sitting here saying, how did I get on this show with old men? It's a bunch of old men and me. What am I doing here? HTC is responding to Apple's lawsuit. You know, Apple, instead of suing Google, sues the handset manufacturer because they don't have any patents. HTC has announced today that it's suing Apple for violating 5 of its patents. Hey, we got some patents too. And asking the ITC, just as Apple said, halt the sale of the HTC phones, they're asking the ITC to halt the importation and sale of the iPhone, iPad, and iPod in the United States. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This is what happens.
Patent ping pong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mutually assured patent destruction. Anyway, I don't even like talking about those stories because they're not about getting something done. They're about, you know, tying things up, and it's not good. Happy birthday, says Gina Trapani, to the shell script that runs my life. What's that all about?
It's true. It's true. I wrote the shell script like 4 years ago. Actually,
you live on a bash script.
I do. I use a bash script to organize my to-do list. It's kind of embarrassing. I didn't know you were going to call this out on the show. I
love this. No, I think on the first show we mentioned to-do.sh.
Yep. It's so funny because like the contents of the script now are so kind of far beyond my skill level that I'm just like, I know it works and I can sort of identify chunks of code, but it's been taken over by Unix geeks far beyond my skill level, but yeah, no, I've been using it every single day, and when I mark a task as done, it goes into this done.txt file, and I looked at it because I was like, oh, this is 4 years later, and it's like over 1,000 lines of stuff that I've done, so I could just like grep this history of 4 years worth of activity. I love it. Love it.
Grep is an organizational tool. Thank goodness.
Grep is an organizational tool. Grep, sort. Oh, yeah.
Now, when they write a command line Facebook, I'll be back, baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Command line Facebook is it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? But I think
Pine, Gina?
What's that?
Of course she uses Pine. Of course she's
Oh, you know.
No?
Use Mutt or Pine.
That's right. That used to be, it was Emacs versus VI, Mutt versus Pine, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now Gina's part of our nostalgic moment here.
She's starting to sound like an old man.
Yeah.
So I think my first Android application, or at least my first attempt at one, is going to be manipulating to-do text and interfacing with Dropbox's APIs to be able to mark things as done and save it back to Dropbox, so it kind of updates to all your computers. So I just applied for Dropbox API access today, so I'm going to give it a shot. I thought it'd be a pretty simple, cool little first app.
There's something magical about text. It's so easy to manipulate. It's so small. It just works. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
it's an old thing that does not belong in Jeff's museum.
Because it still works.
There should be a museum of stuff that's old but not dead.
Right.
And still too useful to ever give up.
You have any ASCII?
Do you think we'll ever get to the point where the keyboard, that we really start to use the keyboard as an exception.
I think we're getting close with Apple buying Siri. You don't think so, Doc?
Well, it depends on what for. I mean, if you're writing, I think the keyboard does what it does. You know, that's what it is. It is
19th century technology.
I mean, well, it is. When was QWERTY invented? I mean, it's going to be around for a while.
I guess, it's survived, but boy, I wouldn't mind seeing something better. And with, I think Google's getting better and better at dictation. It's dictation everywhere on the Android, and I think Apple's said basically by buying Siri, we want to do something.
But the problem is you don't speak in. I don't anyway. I don't speak in Final Draft.
Right.
I still have to go in and change it. Right. I still have to go in and improve it.
Right.
So I need an editing tool. So that's still going to be a requirement, I think.
When you're talking about VRM, what do you think of, Doc, of this whole Facebook issue? This really seems to be an example of
which Facebook issue?
Which of all thousands?
There are many faces to the Facebook issue.
But there's I think there's an overarching story that Facebook is ignoring its users, right? Or not paying enough attention to its users.
Well, I think with Facebook, there's a lot of fear about Facebook's going to eat the web. And what Facebook is doing is building the great indoors. It's the Mall of America or something like that. I think it's still AOL 2.0.
Yep.
And
walled garden.
And it's a tree that will not grow to the sky, to keep changing metaphors. And as long as they're trying to make advertising their main source of revenue, it's going to be a problem. I think that the problem with this sort of wet dream that everybody's got in the advertising business is we'll make advertising as personalized as possible. And what it's doing is raising all these privacy red flags because people basically don't want personalized advertising. I think most people don't. It's like they'd rather be a little bit anonymous. They'd rather be a little bit generalized rather than. I
don't know, Doc. If you're going to get stuck with advertising anyway, wouldn't it be nice to at least make it somewhat more relevant? If you have the control over it,
so have you gone through when you're on a Facebook page? Okay, so I've got like 700 friends right on Facebook, and I see 3 ads on the right. I've gone through dozens and dozens of those and clicked on the thing that look at all these other ads. I'm getting ads for under 30 singles. I'm getting ads for
Well, that's just because it doesn't work.
They're doing a bad job.
Of stuff where even the basic demographics of me are not well understood.
Right, but they're doing a bad job. And so you're actually making the point, I think, here. You're complaining about the irrelevance of it. And if they did a better job of targeting, you'd be more relevant.
I would pay not to see any ads at all because then they're paying.
That's different. That's a different model.
Yeah, well, it's a different model, but I'm not trying to prove personalization. What I'm trying to do is explore whether or not they're actually any good at it, and I don't think they are. I actually don't think even Amazon is that good at it. Amazon is recommending to me books that I've written. They're recommending to me books that I've already bought from them.
Right.
Right.
Well, this is a hard thing. This is kind of a famously hard thing to do. Netflix put $1 million up for just a small percentage improvement in its recommendation engine. It's a hard thing to do, but I don't think that's an indictment of the notion that advertising that's targeted to something you're interested in is a bad thing. I think don't consumers say they want that? They don't like.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I think we've moved past the point where we're all consumers. I think we're producers as well as consumers. What we're producing is not just better, more finely targeted crosshairs on our back for people who are working a percentage game and maybe we're going to respond to one thing or another. I mean, I think, as I've said before, that improving a pain in the ass does not make it a kiss. And what we need is a kiss. And the kiss isn't going to come from a company that's advertising. It's coming from a company that actually knows us and has a relationship with us. And it happens within that relationship, knowing that we're looking for X, Y, or Z, not that they're hiring Facebook or even Google as an intermediary to help them target even better what I might want. I think that the inherent inefficiency of advertising in the long run makes it something of a bubble. And I think part of the bubbleness of advertising is that we're all talking about how to make it better and better and better and better and better. And there's a limit to that. And when we cross that limit, it might not even be advertising anymore. It might just be what we call relationship.
The way I put it, Doc, is that advertising is failure. In the ideal, you have a great product or service, people love it, they sell it for you, they support it for you, you have a relationship with them, you advertise when that fails.
Well, I think there's a place. I think there's a place for advertising as we know it. I think sports, for example, is always going to have ads for yellow beer and for erectile dysfunction relief and for big trucks. That's going to happen for the duration, I think, and it's going to pay
That's
for.
targeted because, as we know,
so
people
it's
who
totally
like
targeted,
football
and I think-
have a hard time getting hard
Listen,
ons.
What's that? I missed the joke.
No,
so.
don't worry about it. I hope everybody did.
It's
Leo's pissing off every football fan.
I don't think
Yeah,
that
exactly.
goes away, but I think what's going to happen is that a capacity that was inherent in the net in the first place, which is it puts everybody at zero distance from everybody else, will allow the demand side to engage the supply side with far more efficiency and granularity and trust and a bunch of other things than it has had so far. And my perspective on that is that the web as we know it anyway is maybe 15 years old. That's what since Netscape 1.0, it's been about 15 years. It's a sophomore in high school. As Frank Stasio said when I was interviewed in North Carolina last week, it's not old enough to download its own porn. So, and so we're inclined to think that that Google or Facebook or Twitter, all these things are the end of times. They're not.
No, it's weird. Yes, of course, yeah.
It's all provisional, as you know, even better than I do, because covering this.
Well, and we also do. We're ad-supported media. I can't, for a variety of reasons, charge people for our content. So we have to pay for it somehow. We pay for it with ads. And it's somewhat targeted by its nature because people know that, well, anybody who listens to a show about Google is going to be a geek. So we have ads for products, for geeks. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That I think, if you have a wine magazine, heck, I work for Linux Journal. We've been thriving for 15 years, 16, 17 years, whatever it's been.
You got ads in there.
With ads for boards and ads for, various kinds of software. I think
and no ads for Viagra.
For example.
And no ads for Viagra because
we probably could use that.
Open source advocates
have no problem.
No problems in the bedroom.
I actually think that geek stuff gets these guys up, so it's all right. That's not a problem. That is Viagra.
It is. Well, and the reason we bring this up is we spent several weeks talking about it, and not just on this show, but on all our shows, the eroding Facebook privacy policy. Well, you just wrote a post, Jeff, about the difference between the public and a public. And it's your thesis that that's really the disconnect, that neither Twitter nor Facebook kind of understand what a public is.
Right. I've been doing some research because I think this is the topic of my next book.
Another one, huh?
Yeah. I'm not going to debate it properly. I'll probably do this instead. Because I've been trying to think about this idea of publicness and the value of publicness, and then we talk all the time about the fear involved with privacy, and that's inherent in this. And so I'm trying to understand, why was the reaction to this so volatile, so vitriolic,
right?
More than anything else? Was it just a last straw, or was there something else here? And I think that as I did research looking back, there's the notion of Habermas. Now, that's the most intellectual thing I'll say in a long time. That in the 18th century, we saw the emergence of the public sphere. But before that, what Gutenberg did and art did and printed music did was the ability for people to create their own publics. And so I saw in there, I hope, maybe a little bit of glimmer of where the confusion is for especially Facebook. That I think that Zuckerberg thinks that once it's public, but we made things in Facebook public only to a public, to our public, the public we control. In Facebook, we control who's in our public. In Twitter, we control what publics we join. In blogs, we publish to the whole public.
To the public.
The public. And so this separation of a public and the public, though it sounds really like a geeky way to say it, and I don't know a better way to say it, I think that's the line that Facebook crossed. So that this idea that, you already made it public. It's okay. I'll publish it to the world. Well, no.
I didn't.
That's not what I was doing.
Right.
Well, I'm going to make it really complicated for you to decide what you're doing with your public. Well, no. That was the whole point of Facebook. That was this whole value that it added, was that it was real names and real relationships and real people, and not this anonymous world we had in the web as a whole. And now it's mixing up the two.
So it's all about context, right? So you're saying,
Yes.
this is the public that reads my blog. This is the public I'm friends with on Facebook. See, I think that's the difference between the advertising that freaks me out and the advertising that I appreciate. Like, I appreciate personalized advertising, but not when it's so specific that I'm like, what? how did you know that about me?
Well, that is creepy, isn't it?
It's creepy when, the ad says, hey, like 34-year-old singles in, San Diego, on your cross street.
That's pretty obvious on Facebook because you gave them all that information. So.
Right. And so, and I know that. But my sister-in-law saw that ad and the age changed from the day, from yesterday, and then it was her birthday. Yeah. And then it said, 37-year-old, and she said, "Wait a second."
Well, it knows. You told it.
And I was like,
birthday.
"Well, you told them here. Yeah. This is what." Right, but I think that's kind of the difference, like it being creeped out. I mean, it's like if I'm watching The Ultimate Fighter, which I love that show, but it's so clear it's a Spike TV, which is like for 20-year-old, hormonal guys, and all the advertising is beer and
Red Bull,
monster trucks, and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, okay, here I am participating in this sort of community of people who likes to watch people get beat to death, and I kind of expect that the advertising doesn't apply to me, but.
So the real question is, why are you watching UFC? I don't
know. There's this weird Greco-Roman thing. I don't know. thing that goes on. It's also very gay. I will make the argument. But that's neither here nor there.
So instead of Glee, you watch UFC. I get it.
I watch UFC and Glee. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. This is why advertisers are confused about you, Gina. They have no freaking idea what you are.
That's your benefit.
But if I got an ad during The Ultimate Fighter that was clearly targeted toward women who live in San Diego and like work in tech, I'd be freaked out. I'd be like, they know something that they shouldn't know about me.
But time and time again, surveys have been done where people say, I hate ads unless it's an ad for something I'm interested in knowing more about. Then I like ads. I mean, we know
this. You go looking for them sometimes.
Yes.
You go to Google search, or when you buy Vogue magazine, you are seeking out ads, and then that's the contract you have.
And that's why, by the way, ads in search work better by several orders of magnitude than anything else. That really works. So I don't have a problem with Facebook in that regard. There's a very telling, I thought, interview with a Facebook executive in the New York Times today in the Bits blog.
What did you think of that? The attitude seemed to be, opt-in? Well, when you join Facebook,
that's the opt-in. You joined. I was seeing red. I was livid. It was one of a number of data items that convinced me, and I'm going to do it later on the show, to delete all my presences on Facebook. It was so disingenuous. It was so clearly disingenuous that I just felt like these guys. Okay, if I were ever,
was it disingenuous or was it delusional?
Well,
because that's what I think is going on. I mean,
that's a good question.
I think it's an honest mistake, but it's a gigantic mistake.
You think it's honest? So Jason Calacanis, and we wrote a post, which also, Jason's talked about this before on TWiT. He obviously, there's something between him and Zuckerberg. He does not like Mark. And it was, it was a vicious post. But
jealous.
I don't, maybe. And you could certainly say that they're both entrepreneurs. Mark has had huge success. Jason's had success, but nothing in that order. But I think that he makes some very good points in between all the vituperation. And one of the points is that Mark is amoral. And Facebook is ultimately amoral.
See, but that's the question I was trying to ask, and we'll go to Jason Moore in a second, but I think that's just the question I was trying to ask, is that I think that Mark believes fully, and I got email from others saying that after reading more what Mark said that they don't agree with this, but my assumption in the past has been that he really does think that by connecting people he changes the world. So the more we connect, God damn it, just connect, and you should do that. The problem I have here is I think that he didn't define. Google defines and redefines evil all the time, famously. I don't think that Facebook has ever defined evil. What's going too far?
Yeah. And
they don't have a culture of doing that. They don't have a culture of enabling people to ask that. And so it leads them astray in a way that's going to hurt the company. The other piece of this is not just your publics and the public. It's also identity. And if Facebook thinks that it can control our identity in this world, it's quickly becoming wrong versus what I said in my post, Leo, was your view last week with Gina about if Google made your personal profile page the first link on a search for you and it became canonical.
I control my identity.
That's your identity. That's the identity you control. So Facebook is potentially losing this huge investment in a way that I think, and then the PR stuff also shows them to be tone deaf to this.
Yes.
In a way that I think that if it were purely cynical, they'd be better at it.
Listen to what Elliot Schrage, he's vice president for public policy at Facebook, says in this New York Times interview. He says, nobody at Facebook wants to make our users' lives more difficult. We want to make our users' lives better. Our mission is for Facebook to be the best place in the world to connect and share with friends and family. And he says, we're just not doing a good enough job communicating. We're not telling you what's going on. I'm sorry, I just don't think that they're delusional. I think that they're deluding. I think that they're really actively attempting a number of things. And it doesn't, to me, I'm not worried about them selling information about marketing. That's not to marketers. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worrying about a power grab. They're trying to control the internet. They want to.
So you already control your info there. That's not the issue. So what's your worst case analysis for what Facebook does?
That everything in the world goes through Facebook with the like button. That Facebook is the ultimate home for all this data, and that everything that we do, everything we participate in, is mediated by Facebook.
Gina, Doc, what are your worst fears?
That every major web app will incorporate the Facebook mechanisms, like the like button, just like Leo said, and that just like Leo said, that I'll be interacting with Facebook even when I'm at my sort of favorite web apps, because they're like, well, Facebook has the users and they can drive the traffic.
It's all Facebook Connect. Everywhere you go.
Right. Everything becoming Facebook Connect. Now, weirdly, I'm not really that worried about Google Ads being everywhere or Google Analytics JavaScript snippets being on pretty much every web page I visit every day. And it goes back to what you said. I mean, Google seems to have sort of this public conscience in that they do constantly define evil and redefine evil. And Google has a little bit of a guilt complex.
Yeah, they're like Germans. They're going, oh, we were bad.
You could tell that they do. With Facebook, Facebook's just sort of like Asperger's. You know what I mean? Like just completely.
Well, that was the word, by the way, a very inflammatory word that Jason used to describe Mark Zuckerberg. And I wouldn't use that word, but I would use the word perhaps amoral. Not immoral, but amoral. And there is a certain thread going through a lot of technology and a lot of technologists where the technology trumps all. We can do it, so we will do it. And that's not we don't need to worry about morality. We're just technologists. It's Oppenheimer versus.
Wow. They want to be the biggest nuclear power on the net, I guess, and to force everybody.
Oppenheimer had a conscience, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but he was just.
Starts with a T.
Yeah.
Chat room.
It's the old men again. Teller just said, "Well, no, we're going to invent it. That's not our job. We're scientists. It's not our job to moralize or determine what it's being used for. It is merely our job to invent it." And Oppenheimer said,
Tom Lehrer song, "The rockets go up, there they go down. That's not my job."
It's not my job. It's not my business. And I feel like that is a threat in technology that we need to be really aware of, alert to, and fight.
Yeah, that's true. That is something that I think all geeks have to keep in mind for sure. It's funny. I don't want to say amoral because that feels
it's a judgment.
Oddly and judgmental to me too, like uncomfortably judgmental to me
and
too.
I don't mean it judgmentally.
Asperger's is pretty judgmental.
I don't mean it judgmentally. I mean that it's not in the equation for them. They don't believe it's their job to consider evil or not evil. They just are doing what they do.
But do you think, Leo, that Zuckerberg is sincere when he says that he sees a new world of people more connected? I'm not trying to get. I'm not.
No, and I think that's
too much credit. But again, I think that I don't see him as being purely cynical.
I don't know, and I can't speak to his motivations because who knows? We don't know what his intent is. We can't read it. I mean, my suspicion is. My suspicion is he's cynical and he doesn't really care. But I don't know. He may it's a nice gloss to put. Oh, we just want to connect everybody. It's a wonderful gloss. Okay. Technology companies of late have gotten very good at glossing stuff that's good for them and couching it. And I blame you, Doc. Couching it in terms that are very positive. They've learned the lingo of connection, conversation. They read Clue Train.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the best, I don't know, the worst thing about the consequences of Clue Train is that we have oxymoronic conversational marketing. We can talk at people now.
Yes.
We can call every damn thing there is a conversation and be no more personal than we were before.
That's because these people are fundamentally tone deaf. And so they don't. I think you're probably right. They don't get what they're doing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Well, I mean, they're. I just think I don't think, by the way, that Zuckerberg is amoral. I just think he's full of it, and that's and I think delusional is maybe the wrong word, but I think he's reading a lot of things wrong, and I think it's sort of the nature of large companies to want to take over as much as they can and control as much as they can. I think Google, to a remarkable degree, is less inclined to do that than any other company that I know. They get open source. They get what the net is about. They come from that. This is what Jeff's book is about. And I think that's the advantage there. I don't think that – I agree with Gina, by the way. I have the same fear that we're all going to start using some Facebook back end because that's the convenient thing to do, and that has a lot of users and the rest of it. But I think they're going to arc over. I think they're going to wear out, and I think there's going to be any number of other things that are going to come along that will be just as fashionable and just as interesting and move people away from it. I mean, we were saying the same things about MySpace, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and
AOL and Yahoo in their time,
and AOL,
and they
Yahoo.
say it about Twitter now.
Yeah. And about Twitter as well. I think Twitter has some sense anyway, of their place in the world, and it's not only.
That's the question: is when it's too late for them. I think what I'm hearing here is Twitter still has a chance to listen well and define evil. And in fact, Ev talked about this up by the Southwest. I'm just getting the sense that it's too late for Facebook. Now the question is, someone will say to you, Leo, okay, fine, so you leave. There's 400 million, soon 500 million people there. So we lost one.
Yeah, they couldn't care less, and I admitted I'm being a little grandstanding, but I think it's important. I'm going to talk about it on my radio show where I deal with much more normal users,
precisely,
who have not considered any of this. I mean, this is all way abstruse minutia to them. It's not.
Is there any way that they could, if because I would think that the investors in Facebook have to be upset about this too if they see the potential of a fall here.
But there isn't going to be. There's 400 million users.
That's what you're saying. Well, that was the case that Pete Rojas made when he left, and I had a conversation with him on Twitter, and he said that the fast growth masks the problem.
Oh, very good point.
And it's a really good point, and it's happened with lots of companies, and it goes to your tech point too, that you don't notice there's a problem because, hell, man, we're growing like crazy. 500 million people. We're going to control the world.
Boy, that's a good point.
And there's something nagging there.
Yeah, and of course we're the the sand and the oyster that's bugging it. This is. Let me read from Schraig's quote. This is the one that you were referring to in the Times. The Times Bits blog post is reader questions and then answers from Elliot Schraig. The question from Abby Katz in New York: why not simply set up everything for opt-in rather than opt-out? Facebook seems to assume that users generally want all the details of their private lives made public. Elliot's response: everything's opt-in on Facebook. Participating in the service is a choice. We want people to continue to choose Facebook every day. Boy, that's a telling sentence.
God, I love how you use that voice in these moments.
Adding,
yeah, you're reading this like an obituary.
You should read all terms of use.
You should be soothed by what I'm saying. We care. You know what it is? It's the mortician's voice.
Yeah.
Adding information, uploading photos, or posting status updates, or liking a page, they're all opt-in. Please don't share if you're not comfortable. That said, we certainly will continue to work to improve the ease and access of controls to make more people more comfortable. Your assumption about our assumption is simply incorrect. We don't believe that. We're happy to make the record on that clear. Huh?
Nobody's making you smoke.
It's robotic.
It's robotic. It's weirdly robotic. So I'm getting more and more uncomfortable about all of this. And here's what makes me uncomfortable. Look, I'm smart enough to know that everything I post on Facebook is potentially public, so I'm just going to only put stuff on there that's public. In fact, that was the solution I came to last week. I'm going to keep the account, but then it's public. But then I realized there's a really insidious problem here. If I use Facebook at all, whether it's as a public persona or as a private persona, I'm coercing either my public or my friends to use Facebook, because the only way they can interact with me is by joining Facebook and participating. So in a way, it's this, and we talked about Farmville. It's this coercion of social relationships. I'm coercing people I'm in relationship with to
Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, to do something bad, to do something I know fundamentally is bad. And it crystallized for me when I talked to my kids last night, 18-year-old Abby and 15-year-old Henry. what do you understand about Facebook and privacy in public? For instance, I said, Abby, you really should treat everything you post on Facebook as public, because ultimately you don't necessarily know, and there's all sorts of issues. And she says, no, I put private stuff on there all the time, and it's private. And that really concerned me, that even a sophisticated 18-year-old does not make that distinction and is not aware of the issues. And so I decided I did not want to be complicit in this, frankly.
So
What are
if
you
get
saying
off
to your
Facebook,
kids?
will you no longer be able to spy on your 18-year-old if you get off Facebook?
I do not have the password to her account, although she foolishly often uses
just
my
by her
computer and
public
logs
side.
she logs into Facebook on my computer, and I always know she has, because it's her pages in French, because she's pretentious. And so I know, and there's Abby's page. But I'm very good and I don't look at it. Do you spy on your kid's Facebook page, Doc?
I only found out he had a Facebook page, and recently he's 13. He goes to a school that discourages the use of computers even, and everybody in his class has a Facebook account.
Of course they do.
And yeah,
and
but
there's huge benefits.
It's all very innocent stuff. It's mostly where are we going to go hang out and what are you doing?
Yeah,
with
it's
the homework,
innocent
stuff like that. So there's not a. In fact, I asked him once I knew he was there. I said, do you want me to friend you here? Because I don't want to, jump in on your private life. He says, I don't care.
Really?
So,
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't care.
I'm not allowed to be anywhere near them in any way.
Yeah,
especially on
Jake, of course,
Facebook.
is all too good at the privacy controls.
He knows what he's doing. But Jake's a
he-
Jake's a
Jake's a
Facebook
nerd.
developer.
Jake, I've got to quiz him more interview on this actually for my book, but he's kind of confused why people are so upset with Zuckerberg now. He says Facebook is, it kind of makes sense to him.
Well, makes sense. Again, from a
You're
purely
sophisticated.
business point of view, makes sense. I'm sophisticated. I don't understand the controls for the life of me.
No, that's the next question. Do you think that
if you don't
was the
understand the
opposite
controls,
stated?
oh my God.
Well, exactly. It strikes me that no one could possibly understand what's going on here. And by the way, try and find how you can deactivate easily. It's in your settings. Try to find a way to delete your Facebook account. It's hard.
Well, Doc, you doing VRM? I mean, all the privacy controls in Facebook are basically their VRM. So they have it, but some would say it's obfuscated. I mean, how do you deal with that kind of confusion?
If it were truly VRM, it would be, something that's common not only to Facebook but to many other things. So
That's a big one. Open standards.
And by the way, I should put in a plug. This coming week, just before Google I/O, is something called the Internet Identity Workshop, which I help organize. It's at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, and it's very much a pass the hat, get in kind of thing. It's the 10th one of these OpenID, OAuth, micro formats. A lot of things like that were visited there, incubated there, came out of there one way or another. They're discussed all the time. It moves identity forward every time we get together, and there are Facebook people there too, but they're the geek ones, and it's interesting to me. Some really fine geeks have gone to work there and don't seem to feel morally compromised about it, but we'll see. Anyway,
I was just doing a search on Google. How do I find my IP address, get a password, know if I'm pregnant? How do I love thee? The number 6th item, number 5 item. How do I delete my Facebook account?
That's awesome.
I love these Google Suggest games.
That's the dark thing that Jeff was talking about. Okay, that's
quite hot.
finding
That means a lot of
that is
people are searching, right?
That is a pearl in an oyster right there. That is definitely a pearl.
If you're going to do the history of Facebook, when did this moment come?
Yeah.
We
Recently.
discussed it a while ago.
Recently.
It came with this last announcement. Yeah. So it's jumped the shark. There it is. I don't care. So it's 400 million people jumping the shark all at once.
But they won't.
Flash.
When does the network effect become so potent, so powerful that you cannot overcome it, that it's done? I mean, yes, we're a young
directions. I mean, so there's the network effect on the way up, but the one on the way down exists as well.
Well, and it's a Microsoft problem. People go about Google as Microsoft. No, Facebook is becoming Microsoft. It occurs to me here because we don't have alternatives. As Eric Schmidt says, for every single thing that Google does, there is a perfectly good alternative. Want to leave Google? Go to Bing. You'll find knowledge in the world.
Right.
But Facebook, by trying to become the network of our identities and connections, you leave all your identities and connections. You leave your friends.
By the way,
You don't
have you seen
have an
Diaspora? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Diaspora is. I don't know if it's the right alternative. In fact, I know we should get Ken Shepardson in here, who's our VP Technology, because there are a lot of people in the open source community who say Diaspora is exactly the wrong response. Now,
I only found out about it yesterday.
I donated $100
Yeah, me too.
when I
donated
yeah,
5 from the cheap guy, but yeah.
Well, whatever. The whole point
The
is
intentions are right.
yeah. The whole point, the intentions are right, but let's get Ken in here because he does have something to say upon this. If you go to Kickstarter.com, that's the donation site. Diaspora is a Kickstarter project, which means they're saying, give us money. Oh my God, it was 20,000 yesterday.
Yeah, they're going to make a living out of this.
Their goal was 10,000 in less than a month. They got more than their goal. Yesterday was 20,000. Is now $43,000 donated through or pledged through Kickstarter. These guys are just college kids. They're gonna from NYU's Current Institute. They're planning to spend the summer building Diaspora. I think they have enough money to do that now.
They asked
So
for 10
you need to
grand. Yeah, I
track
think
the
they'll be
growth
fine.
of that number along with the ranking of the delete my Facebook account on Google.
I'm
just looked at.
actually stunned because that was 20,000 yesterday.
Yeah.
It is now 40.
Yeah, that's amazing. Good for them.
There is something going
They got
on.
a New York Times feature today.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go. That's
that'll
what's
do it.
going. That's what's going
That has a
on.
lot to do with it. Yeah, but what they're trying to do is create, in essence, the public Facebook, right, where you control everything, and it's a seed. And I kind of like that, but it's apples and oranges. Isn't
Well,
it?
Ken, pull your mic in because Ken Shepardson's here. He's a developer, web developer. I've known him for a long time. Met him at Bear Hug Camp when we were trying to get Twitter to open up. And he's our new VP engineering. He's replacing Colleen any day now. But you had a problem with the way Diaspora is going about it.
Well, you see this quite often with the open source projects where, and Kevin Marks is actually an IRC. He'd know a little bit more about this than I do, but you see this quite often where people look around and they see what open source projects are already out there, and they say, well, I don't see the project there that does exactly what I want it to do, so I'm going to go start my own rather than looking around.
New project,
Right, rather than looking around and looking at what other projects are doing something similar to what I want, or what other protocols are contributing to
It strikes me we probably should be looking for existing protocols that we could cobble together.
Right.
Gina, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's often a better choice to reuse code that already exists, right? Because people have put in time and effort. But it's true. It is a problem with open source projects. I think that people say, well, let me just start a new one versus using one that's already out there. I mean, I guess the question is, what's already out there, that maybe this project could roll into or use on top of. I mean, Ken, do you have one on, or just Kevin?
Yeah, is there something like? I mean, Identica, is that a solution?
Identica, Evan Pedromo's tried to do sort of the same thing back in July of 2008. There's a little known project out there, I think, called Nose Rub. It's another thing that somebody just started because there wasn't anything that they could find. Kevin Marks and the activity streams work. The people who started...
It seems like the pieces are out there.
Yeah, there's the Daiso project that Chris Messina started working on. Right. They mentioned in the Diaspora documentation that it wasn't going anywhere, so we decided to start this project. And I just point out that the Diaspora project isn't a project yet. They're collecting
it's just four
money.
Guys saying we want to do something.
Yeah, they're saying that if you fund us at this level,
so maybe it's not too late.
We'll write something.
Maybe it's not too late to say, guys, we gave you a lot of money, but what we're saying is we're voting for an open alternative. Right. Maybe it's not from scratch. Maybe it's combining all of these existing technologies. Maybe it's more a movement than it is software.
Maybe we should volunteer to advise them. Not that they're going to have enough. I don't know. You guys know far better than I do.
Well, I volunteer.
But,
I'll advise them.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
there's a
Gina,
way
you'd be
say,
glad to help out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think there are a lot of parallels between this and what happened with Identica and Laconica, where Twitter was in this period where it was crashing all the time, and people were upset with the fact that it was this closed system.
I was one of them. I went there to support them, and I don't use it.
People first went over to Jaiku, and then they wandered over to Identica. And there's still lots of people are using Identica, but it never got critical mass just because 90% of the people didn't know about it, didn't move over to it. And now it's out there, but it's not challenging Twitter for mindshare.
So is the solution to push Facebook to back down, do open stuff, participate in the community, not try to do a closed? Is that even a doable strategy?
I think so.
Maybe that's what we should be doing.
In the end, all these services end up trying to compete for page views and for ad impressions or trying to get people to sign up to use their UI and to use their service. But there isn't really, it doesn't seem like there's a business model out there that allows people to go out and contribute to protocols and really altruistically work on a protocol and get these systems to connect. They always end up saying, like the diaspora folks, oh, well, yeah, and in the end, we'll probably charge to host something for you.
They want to do hosted server, yeah.
And then they're going to start to compete and try to
They're just going to be another
So do we
Facebook,
need a
is what you're saying.
Mozilla? Should this, if these are donations, should this become a Mozilla of identity?
Well, there's the...
Well,
Interesting.
I really like what you were just saying about protocols, because that's what we need. You know, and maybe the protocols are there already. Are they, or are they not?
You know, we're
Because
going to
that's
get
what we
Chris. Is Chris going to be on next week? Because I think
hope so, yeah.
Yeah, I think Chris Messina is a good guy to talk about this. Certainly, now he's at Google now, but he's been very involved in.
Well, and
all
Chris
of this.
and
that's
David
why he's doing it actually.
David Recordon at Facebook, who was very active in the community before going to Facebook. These guys, I may just be missing what they're saying now that they're in these larger companies, but they sort of fall off the map. And all the efforts, Brett Fitzpatrick at Google now, who was building all
We've
these
also talked about Rick Clow, who's
He's
now
gonna
the
be on,
project
too.
manager for Google Profile.
Right.
It's just hard to find a sustainable sort of critical mass of people who can do something outside of the sphere of influence of the Google or the Facebook or
Right.
And then who
I think Kevin Marks stayed with it, both going in and out of Google. I think his output remained pretty much the same.
I would agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons we really like Kevin, have him on as much as we can, because I think he
There's
absolutely.
3 or 4 functions, aren't there? Here, if you try to start to separate, there's an identity function, which is what you talked about a week ago with Profile. There's this publishing function of here's my stuff.
Right.
There's a joining function of what are my connections to people. And Facebook kind of tried to bring them all together, and that's probably the main problem they have.
It's like, what
I
if
don't think we wanna replace
GeoCities?
Facebook.
It's like, what if GeoCities said we're the web, and somehow coerce people that everybody ought to create a web page created on GeoCities? That wouldn't be a good thing.
O'Reilly is
Yeah.
kind of arguing that we have that kind of new OS fight going on, and that in essence, Apple is competing to be the web.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think they all would like to, right? I'm sure Google. Well, maybe not. That's a.
well, no, Google's following the same approach for Buzz, where they're saying we're going to support OAuth and SAML.
That's why I like
protocols,
Buzz.
and they're just.
It cobbles together open protocols.
It will be nice when they actually roll that out.
They have to have an API.
People we should advise are Buzz, and how would they get Buzz right?
Maybe.
Because it ain't now.
Well, we're certainly rattling. Ken, thank you for coming in. We're certainly rattling the tree on this. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to press the button, delete my Facebook account. We can talk more about this. There's so much news we haven't even gotten to. We'll get to as much as we can. There's a Google Wave story from. Did you write this, Gina?
Which
From Fast Company.
Which one?
The Fast Company, Google Wave, got its groove back.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah, you
actually
did.
didn't. I didn't add that to the friend feed. I'm not that self-promoting.
Well, I'll promote for you. How about that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I do want to mention our friends at Citrix, the makers of Go to Assist. If you're in the tech support industry, the business, if you have software you support, you're an IT person, maybe you're just the family geek and you support a lot of friends and family with PCs and Macs, you should know about Go to Assist from Citrix. It is simply the fastest, easiest way to do remote assistance. Citrix does Go to My PC, that great remote desktop background they've got makes this such a fast and easy to use product. Your family, your clients, your support-ees don't have to have it installed ahead of time. You send them a link, they click it, it downloads in a second, and now they're ready. And you can get in there, whether they're there or not. They can give you the right to get in unattended, which is very nice. You don't have to wait till your client's around to fix the computer. You can have up to 8 sessions at once, which means you can start a scan or install in a system and then move to the next and next while it's going on. It gives you an assay of what software is running, including security software and operating system. As I said, PC or Mac. You even have two-way screen sharing, so you can show them what's on your screen if you want. Integrated live chat, so you can say, here's what I'm doing. What was the symptom you had? That kind of thing. Citrix is so great. They've got all the data encrypted, of course, using end-to-end 128-bit SSL. There's free customer support 24/7. That's for you. Give it a try. 30 days free. Go to assist.com/twig. That's the URL. GOTOassist.com/twig. Citrix is a great supporter of This Week in Google. I guess they're a cloud product, aren't they, after all? So we're really glad to have their help keeping this show on the air. And you can help us by going to gotoassist.com/twig. Help yourself, too. We're talking about Facebook, and I'm ready to pull the plug.
Before you delete it, there's one person at IRC who said everybody should leave their Facebook profile saying, you can now find me over these other places. In other words, you're eliminating everything but a pointer to
Maybe I should do that, huh? You think instead of deleting it?
Yeah.
Don't slow me down. I was on a roll.
I mean, it seems like there are two issues.
No, Leo, don't jump! Don't jump!
With building like an open Facebook, there's like the issue of like consuming and publishing open protocols, right? Using open protocols. But then there's this issue of like federation, right? So if I understand it right, Diaspora gives you an installable application that you can put on your own web server and host your own data, right? And that's, I mean, that's not something that most Facebook users are going to do.
Right.
So really, it has to be like Facebook, which is this service which anybody can join. It is free, and you don't need a web server. You don't even have to understand what a web server is. But then there has to be this other option where you can, so we're talking about federation and open protocols.
Yes. And so others can come along and find a business opportunity in creating the red herring of you know what I mean, that red hat of Diaspora.
Red herring was a magazine. We don't want a red herring. We want a red hat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a tough business model. I mean, WordPress does it, right? They have the hosted service, then they have.
Right.
Yeah, and they benefit from all the work that goes on. And I talked to Polaris, the investors, when they did that deal, and only echoed what Mark was saying, but leave the open, and you're going to benefit. And yeah, you're the first to build on top of it. You'll get the advantage of doing that, but you'll also get the advantage of the platform being trusted and added to. If Facebook had any damn sense, they'd open source the things that are most bothering us.
I guess, all right. I guess I shouldn't delete it. You're right. I should probably just, I wish I could get rid of all the content except for one wall post saying, I'm not here.
I'm not here. You shouldn't be here either. Come sign me here.
How long before Facebook deletes that one?
Oh, Leo, could you create a new identity on Facebook?
That's what you do.
Leo 2.0?
That's what you do. Okay, so I delete it and then come back at some point.
Not that I'm trying to convince you to jump here. I don't.
Yeah, the IRC wants you to delete it, by the way. There's a the chat room is chanting delete.
They're the crowd on the street below.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I did that Google search.
They want to see you throw the corpse of Facebook.
I will do it. Out
the balcony.
I did that the Google search, and WikiHow yesterday posted a very good article on how to permanently delete a Facebook account that talks about some important steps like make sure you remove your Facebook Connect logins. If you've been using that exclusively on sites like dig.com, you want to create an account because you'll lose that account. They also give you a direct link to a page that is hidden deep within Facebook, the delete account form. And you won't see this unless you really know where you're going. If you do not think you will use Facebook again and would like your account deleted, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. We can take care of this for you. Keep in mind, you will not be able to reactivate your account or retrieve any of the You know, they really act like you're going to do something significant, right? And I'm going to just quickly... you're about to... You sure? I'm going to... Just in case you're a robot, I'm going to... All right, let me... Actually, what do I care if you get my password? I'll type in my... It's come to think of it. Actually, you don't want people to get your password because...
They're telling you to burn the witch.
Yeah, burn the witch.
You remember there was a Saturday Night Live early on where the audience decided whether to kill Larry the Lobster. I feel like this is it.
This is Larry going in the pot right now. Da, da, da. By the way, they say you have 2 weeks to change your mind. We're only going to deactivate it. And if you do anything that in any way touches your account, we're back. So I should really just change the password.
Don't like anything.
You can't like anything. You can't use Facebook Connect. You can't in any way, accidentally log in because it'll say, oh, see, we knew. Okay, there we go. Your account now has been deactivated and will be permanently deleted within 14 days. If you log in, your account will be reactivated and you'll have the option to cancel your request. So there you go.
Looks like we have to start sitting Shiva for you.
So that's it. It's gone. Yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do. And I think you're right. What I will do is create a Leo Laporte account sometime down the road. There are already fan pages that say, I don't do Facebook. Here's why you shouldn't. and see you on my blog. Is the blog the right answer? The personal blog, is that the right place to start controlling your identity?
Well, it's certainly the best place to express yourself in something longer than 140 characters.
Yeah.
And which it always has been. I think a blog is, simply a publication. Controlling your identity, I think, is a different thing. I think there's you need a kind of a dashboard or some kind of a context for doing that. And it has to be open source, and it has to be something that can be universally used, or at least at the meta level can include a number of different approaches to doing that.
What do you think about Google Profile, Doc? I mean, we've talked about that.
I
as
don't
an
know enough about it.
Yeah.
So I'm the wrong guy.
I use that, but as Jeff pointed out, if it showed up at the top of the Google search for me, I'd be
which was your idea, Leo.
Perfectly happy.
I think that's why having Rick Clow on is going to be really interesting, and see if he can talk. He's the new product manager, and see what they're thinking at Google, because this is their opportunity now. They've got an opening. They've been nowhere on social, nowhere on identity, and the question is, what can they do right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that I did ask myself about this is, do I get benefit from Facebook that I'm giving up? What is the intangible benefit? And can that be transferred to another outlet? And, because 400 million people use Facebook, people are trying to find me. But this is exactly the problem I have.
I think Twitter is my new Facebook.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I want Google to be. So do you want people to go to Facebook to find you, or go to Google to find you?
Google. Web search.
Google.
Just
That's
web
why
search
identity is different from your public.
Exactly.
Your publics.
Exactly.
Making because, let's get I'll go too far, which is what I do for a living. Right? If the family is dead, we create new families at Facebook. We decide what to do as a family. That's what
interesting.
That is. Identity is an entirely different thing. It is your identity to the world. And Facebook's big mistake, I think, in the end, was to try to mix the two. Because your identity is what you give to the whole world. Your publics, your limited publics, your families are what you feel safe in. And you need control over both. So the other mistake Facebook made was by saying, don't worry, we're just going to gather all this stuff and share it for you. No!
What do you say to people, and I get calls like this on the radio show a lot, who say, well, if you Google me, you get all sorts of awful stuff. or what if your name is John Smith?
Well, that's Google's opportunity, is to have you take over your identity.
That's
and who
profiles.
can become the verifier of identity. It's a huge job. Some have said over the years the post office should do it. Should banks do it? I don't think anymore.
No.
Could Google do it? Is there a way? Twitter is actually the one organization that does now verify identities.
But don't dare change your profile, because I was verified and then changed the bio, and I'm now unverified, and that's been months. So I unverified myself by changing it.
The truth is, we have the fake Leo here today.
You'll never know.
Leo.
I deleted his account. He's gone. And I'm in charge now.
So, Leo, one of the guys in the IRC is wondering how many fake Leos will now show up.
Oh, yeah, there may be. There are other Leo Laporte pages and stuff. There was a fake Leo for a long time.
I still think the web page rules all, right? So, I decided to set up my own web page and code it by hand. You could use a page that Google Profiles created for you. Even Facebook creates a public page. I think the reality is, though, that we all should say everyone in the world is going to have a web page hosted wherever they want to choose. They choose to host it. Facebook is a choice, right? Because it does create a public-facing page that defines you, and that the way that you find people is through searching the web for that page. And I mean, a blog is a particularly good solution for establishing your identity, especially for someone like John Smith, who says all this junk comes up for me, because blogs are, really good food for search, engine robots, and will get pages with your name, to the top of the search results just by virtue of the fact that they update a lot. But
it does have to be something that everybody uses, right? I mean, that's the reason Facebook has this power.
It has to be something you can find from anywhere, right? So I can create my own canonical page about me
somewhere.
And Google, if it's somewhere, anywhere, it's my blog. You search for me, I think Buzz Machine comes up first, and that's exactly what it does.
But you're giving a lot of power to Google, because if that thing does not exist on Google, then you don't exist.
Right.
Well, any search engine. Replace Google with
any search engine.
But you can't replace Google with any search. That's the point, is that Google is...
Yes, you can.
Can you?
In the long run, you can, yeah. The important thing is substitutability, and in economic systems, and I
guess that's what Google you were saying, Jeff.
Google at the search level is It's already substitutable. It's not.
My
admittedly,
Google
Bing is
profile
not
page
as good, but
better
it's
come up
actually
on
better
Bing,
in some
or
way.
else Google's profile page is worthless.
Well, that's interesting.
Right?
I wonder if my Google profile page comes up on Bing. It doesn't come up on Google. Wouldn't it be funny if it came up on Bing but not Google? Yeah, it doesn't seem to come up on Bing either.
I mean, the thing is, how do search engines discover pages? Inbound links, right? Generally. Yeah. Do you link your Google profile?
Is that my blog gets links because it's in conversation. My identity page would get no links because it's rather static. It just says, "Hi, I'm Jeff."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's why Google has to change its view of, again, identity. And there's so many people who are doing so much more than this than I do, creating things like OAuth and all that. But identity is a different world from publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And a different world from creating societies, publics, whatever you want to call it. Is Threadsy related to this at all?
Actually, my Google profile comes up number 4 result on Bing.
On Bing?
Yeah, it's interesting. My Wikipedia. So my web page is number 1. My Wikipedia page, which I just discovered and weirded me out, is number 2. And so that's interesting. So I guess Bing is definitely.
But for some reason, mine's not on there at all. I wonder why. Maybe because it's.
By the way, there's breaking news that Eric's saying of Google running Android is going to Facebook.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What was his position at Android?
They said chief. I don't think he's that, but I don't know.
Eric.
I should know.
I'm mad. The other Jeff Jarvis, I being the Jeff Jarvis, the other Jeff Jarvis, the jazz musician, the one with talent, is number 1 on Bing. That pisses me off.
That's really bad.
That's bad.
Screw you, Bing.
This week at Google, listeners, where we all sit around and Google ourselves.
That's so sad.
Or Bing ourselves.
Eric, by the way, was senior product manager for Android, so a fairly high up Android, going to Facebook.
So maybe Facebook's going to make a phone, or maybe Facebook's going to make something.
Yeah, of course they will. Of course they will.
Would
you
they
can
have?
Only call your friends.
Would they make an Android phone? Would they make?
It'll look like that Borg thing.
Resistance is futile. Oh, I got my Facebook phone. How do you like it?
That's it.
It's great, isn't it?
Theo, you'll never get one now.
No, I don't get a Facebook phone. And that's the other thing is there is this social coercion. I expect pressure from my family and friends. Why aren't you? What happened? We can't find you anymore. You don't exist for us anymore. But I think that's when you those are the times you really have to start to fight, when it's that kind of situation. I think we should wrap it on that note. There are a lot of other stories. We're going to have a lot more to talk about, obviously, next week, Google I/O, and we will report right after the keynote and let you know what's going on with the Google. Meanwhile, before we go, time for our tool, number, and tip of the week, starting with Gina Trapani and our tip of the week.
Really simple, short, easy one this week.
How to delete your Facebook page.
How to delete a Facebook page. It's actually gonna be a Google thing. We talked about Facebook a lot this.
Yeah. Let's do something Googly.
We're gonna get complaints.
And the irony is, Facebook's not a cloud.
It isn't, but it
isn't.
It does tie in a little bit to our main
it's
topic.
Interaction. It has an impact on the cloud.
Yeah.
It does. You can now drag and drop images into Gmail by default. Chrome only, but other browser support is coming. So I love this. Because, back in, 2 years ago when everyone was talking about when are we going to move to web apps? Well, you can't drag and drop files into web apps. Well, now you can. And so with Gmail right now, if you're running Chrome, I believe it's Windows only. I actually didn't try it on my Mac. Just drag and drop images right from your from your file system into your Compose window, and I believe you can even resize them before you send. So, which is sweet. Yeah, it just launched this week.
I use Chrome, I have to say, more and more and more.
Yeah.
I'm really liking it. It's fast. It's got enough extensions now that I don't feel like I'm missing anything in Firefox. Firefox is getting slower.
Yeah, it is.
Who's the winner is WebKit. WebKit's the winner, right? Mm-hmm. That's the engine behind it.
Thank you, Apple and Linux geeks. What do you know?
Yeah. Because it's the K engine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I just installed Ubuntu Lucid Links on a netbook, and it's the best install I have ever done. Highly recommended it. This is a Samsung NC20. It's a fairly generic Atom-based netbook, but it saw the camera, it saw the Bluetooth, saw the Wi-Fi. I've never yet installed Linux without having to do a little Broadcom chip hacking or something. It was like it was better than Windows. Really fast. It works great. It's beautiful. I think Ubuntu. I think Canonical has done a very good job of making Ubuntu the desktop Linux.
That's great.
And the laptop Linux, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, to run on a netbook just out of the box.
There is not a white box laptop. I mean,
they're all
like
something.
Desktop, they're all a little different, and partly because Microsoft made them that way. You know, they do all this custom work with all these different makers, and now maybe they've stopped doing that, and that's one reason why. Maybe
I would love it if,
laptops
Gina, you
really
hear
aren't
at
white box
I.O.
now.
the Chrome OS date.
Yeah, that's
would
what
be
I was just about to say. I
And
wonder what's going to happen to
sheets for the spec
Linux.
doc, yeah.
Yeah, Chrome OS. Chrome OS. Haven't heard a lot about Chrome OS in a while. I'd be interested to see if
Could it be the
I
wave of OSs?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gina.
Oh.
Well, it's nice because we got Android and the portable devices moving up with a tablet almost to a netbook. Then we've got number. Let's get the number. Thank you, Gina, for your tip. I'm almost. I'm verging.
Almost did it. You almost did it. The number is 28, which is the market share that Android had in the first quarter of sales, beating the iPhone with 21%.
Wow.
Android 28%, but BlackBerry still 36% in the first quarter, according to NPD Group.
If you look at the graph, though, BlackBerry is kind of plummeting.
Is that worldwide or is that
U.S.
Where is that, Jeff?
U.S.
USO.
Your worldwide numbers are very different.
It's that gut check, you know. It's like everybody in the world doesn't have an iPhone and uses Gmail. You know what I mean? Everyone buys Blackberries and uses Hotmail, but in our little geek world, it's Android versus iPhone. That's pretty interesting.
It's huge. Do you think that that's because there's a saturation, that the iPhone has saturated the marketplace?
I think it's part of it. Certainly, yeah.
And
but I think it shows Google's strategy that the more devices you get on, the more Android will just grow.
Well, that's the strength, isn't it? I mean, you have some really good choices of phones now. Really remarkable.
And other devices too. The WePad that I was trying to see in Berlin that I didn't see has now changed its name to the WeTab, and it's now for sale on Amazon Germany. We're going to see more and more and more devices. You saw them when you were in Vegas, Leo. I think that we're just going to see more and more. And that is, Eric Schmidt has said it when we were in Davos. That's his strategy.
I imagine it won't be too long before I have a WebOS tablet, a Android or maybe Chromium tablet, and an iPad side by side. And I think they'll be fairly comparable. It'll be very interesting to see who's the winner there. The App Store is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah.
It really is about apps. That's the number, 28. Pretty good number. 28. My tip of the week, or tool of the week, I should say. And by the way, I should give a thanks to a listener, Abdul Rahman Al-Qordiri. I hope I'm saying your name right, Abdul Rahman. Google Insights for Search. This is really intriguing to look at your search terms. You can do comparisons and get all sorts of drill down, all sorts of information. This is TWiT.tv over the last 5 years on the number of times that term has been used in search, where it's being used. Very interesting stuff. You can add commas to add comparison items. So compare TWiT.tv to, say, Revision 3, our arch rival. You could do a comparison between the two of us. Guess they're not such an arch rival after all. And
somebody just said that Zuckerberg is the tool of the week.
Zuckerberg! Oh! I love it. Google.com/insights, and we'll get a honorary tool of the week from the chat room and Doc Searls, Mark Zuckerberg. Doc, it's so great having you on. We've got to get you on more. I just think the world of you. We thank you for Clue Train, which changed the world, and for VRM, which is changing the world.
3 other guys too.
Yeah. They all get David and everybody else. But Doc, it's just great to have you on. Doc.searls.com. Don't be a stranger. Gina Trapani is at smarterware.org. That's her blog. Always good stuff there. You're blogging a lot. I love it. And she's also the author of The Complete Guide to Google Wave at CompleteWaveGuide.com, available now. And working on Think Tank.
Yes. Great show. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Jeff Jarvis, the author of What Would Google Do, is also blogging at buzzmachine.com. Great to have you on board as well, Jeff.
Always an honor, Leo.
Always really great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We thank you for watching. We do the show now Wednesdays live at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 1 p.m. Pacific time at live.twit.tv, 2000 UTC if you're outside the U.S., and, of course, you can download it from all the usual podcast places. Just go to twit.tv for more about this and all of our others. Facebook, by the way, just got this notice, has called an all-hands meeting on privacy tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Oh, the power of Twig.
They're going to say, why, Leo, why? Interesting. Obviously, they're taking this seriously.
Very.
So, yeah, and I think
Finally,
they should.
yeah,
I think
because
they should.
this is going to affect their business.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google.